This episode is part 2 of our 3-part series all about our girls' trip to Europe. Last week, we explored the Tuscan countryside in Florence. And this week, we are taking you a little bit farther south and we're going to explore Sorrento and the Amalfi Coast. Listen in. Hi, I'm Rhea.
And I'm Dwayne.
And we are your hosts of the Travel Party of 5 podcast, where we share how we travel as a family of 5 around the world.
We will also share how we use points and miles to travel as affordably as possible and sometimes even completely free.
So if you're wanting to travel more with your family, but you're not sure how, we'd love for you to listen in.
So welcome to our podcast where we hope you learn a thing or two to get you closer to your next trip.
Hey guys, welcome back to Travel Party of 5 podcast. We are on episode 2 of recapping our girls' trip to Italy. So Dwayne is again off today, and my sister Elena is joining us. So say hello, Billy.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. So where we left off last was we finished up our time in Florence. We had such a great time there. And our next stop in Italy was Sorrento. And so if you're not familiar with Sorrento, it's farther south than Florence. And it's kind of on the opposite side of the Amalfi Coast. But that piece of Italy is not super wide. So you can drive between the two, maybe like hour and a half. So it's not too far from the Amalfi Coast. And it's a really good place to stay if you want to do things like Naples, Pompeii, Amalfi, Ravello, Positano, because it's a really good kind of central point and it's not super expensive. I mean, it's expensive, but it's not as expensive as like Amalfi, for example.
And there's not nearly as many people in Sorrento as there was in Amalfi.
Yes, Amalfi was incredibly crowded the day we were there. And there were no cruise ships that day. And it was still very crowded. I know. I can't. Like takes all the fun out, you know?
Yeah, we were walking and there was literally you walk and somebody hits your shoulder. There's no room to walk. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I was so excited because like TikTok does a great job of like making you excited about the Amalfi Coast, which the Amalfi Coast was beautiful. But Amalfi itself, I'm like, I had such high expectations for you and I can't even walk in this place.
Yeah. It was of the cities on the Amalfi Coast that we visited, it was definitely my least favorite. Okay, but first, so let's talk about how did we get from Florence to Sorrento. So I booked us on the high-speed train, and I actually booked us business class seats because that was like less than $20 extra a person. And the seats are more comfortable. There's more luggage space and you get food. Although it's worth noting that the food was like a dry croissant in a box, I think. But it was maybe a 3-hour train ride. We made one stop in Rome and then continued on to Naples. And then in Naples, we had to switch from the high-speed train to the Circumvesuviana, which is the local train that goes between Naples and Sorrento. And so that's basically, I don't know, it costs a couple of euros. You buy a ticket and you get on. And that was a little hard to find, I feel like. You have to follow the signs for the Circumvesuviana and like you just have to pay close attention because there are times where it feels like there are no signs. Like we went the wrong way one time in the Naples train station and it was a little confusing, but we figured it out.
And that train station was massive.
It
so
was
like
huge.
you can get lost in 2 seconds in that train station.
Yeah. Once we finally got to Sorrento, we were maybe a 15-minute walk from our Airbnb. And so we just walked from the train station to the Airbnb. It was a little bit of a struggle because our mom hurt her knee at some point before this trip. And so it was it was a little bit of a hard walk with luggage, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, I agree. And our Airbnb was kind of set. It was in a great location, but it was kind of set like on the side of the center city. It was like
Yeah.
just like it was like I don't know, it was like on the border, I would say is a better way
Yeah,
to say
like
it.
you could walk like 5 minutes and be fully in Sorrento, but like the Airbnb itself was definitely on like the outskirts of the city center, I would say. So okay, the Airbnb, this is the only accommodation that we paid cash for. And so I think it was just under $1,400 for 4 nights. Obviously, we split that between 3 people. The Airbnb was basically a 1 bedroom plus like a pull-out sofa bed in the kitchen living room area, and then 1 bathroom. The listing says that it can sleep 5. And like I think if you were a family of 5, this would be the perfect place. It's perfect. There was like a queen bed plus a single bed in the bedroom, plus like a queen pull-out sofa bed. So there's definitely like room for 5 people to sleep. But I think if you were 5 adults, that might be a little bit of a tight squeeze. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. And the one bed I slept on was a twin, and obviously there's no way of sharing that with anybody, but it would, and
Yeah.
it's only one bathroom, and the shower is tiny. So like, yeah, I agree with you. It would be definitely be a tight squeeze, but if it's a family, that you'll be fine.
Yeah, like Dwayne and I and our kids could have stayed there, no problem. It would have been plenty of space. Um, but yeah, I'll put and I can put a link to the Airbnb we stayed at in the show notes because the host was very thorough and very responsive, and I really appreciate that because I generally prefer hotels over Airbnbs. I don't really want to cook when I'm on vacation. I want all the amenities that a hotel has, but as a family, you do save money when you stay where there's a kitchen and you can make your own meals and blah blah blah. So I mean, I see both sides, but the part that makes me nervous is that I feel like when you book a hotel, you're guaranteed to have a room, even if it's not the room you reserve. They have plenty of other options to give you. Whereas an Airbnb, if they cancel your booking, you're just kind of SOL. And so that's like my biggest hang up about Airbnbs. Although it's worth noting that that's never happened to me. So
Also never happened to me.
actually, you know what? I'm sorry. That's not true. It has happened to me one time. This was a long time ago. I had booked a trip for me and Dwayne to go to San Diego, and the Airbnb canceled, and then I had to find a different accommodation for that trip. But I mean, I had plenty of time and it wasn't a big deal. So I guess it's never happened to me like right before the trip, but that's always my fear. Um, However, that did not
Yeah,
happen here. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and I'll say something about the Airbnb host too. Like he sat down with us at the kitchen table and he was like, "Would you mind like sitting down so that I can give you some recommendations?" He literally sat down and pulled out a map and went through the map and was like, "This is a good restaurant. This is a good place for looking at the sunset. This is a great place for here. This is a very nice restaurant. This is the here, walk through here to get to here. Here's the train station. Here's this, here's that." And we were like, oh my goodness. Like he gave us so much information. And a lot of the things that we did it based off of what he wrote on that little map. Like it was,
Yep.
he was so thorough, which was so helpful because we had stuff planned, but it definitely in Sorrento was more of our like kind of let's fly by the seat of our pants and see what we end up doing. Because we didn't have anything other than the Pompeii tour scheduled when we got there. Um,
Yep. Yep.
But then again, we ran into the same city tax that we had to do in Florence that we also had to do
Yep.
the same thing. It was like €4 per person per day. So like 48 total. Um I mean, which again is not super, it's not a lot, but again, we weren't expecting to have to pay that. Um it's not,
Yeah.
it's
And you
something
you pay that in
weird.
cash for the Airbnb. Like he was like, "Oh, I need cash." Like, okay. So yeah, I guess be prepared for that part. Yes, I agree. He was incredibly thorough. And tell about the boat tour.
So do you remember if you listened to last week's episode, my family left me because I was the only one that did the Vespa tour. Do you guys remember that? Okay. So when they left me, they made new friends. So these new friends that they sat with at lunch, because again, I had to sit with my family that actually rode Vespas. So they sat with these people, and these people were so nice, so nice, but they recommended us to try this boat tour. And so they were like, it was great, blah, blah, blah. So we ended up booking that boat tour. And we went to Pompeii the first day.
Well, hold on.
Uh,
We couldn't book the boat tour because I took a
oh,
picture of the
yeah.
screenshot. I took a picture of the screenshot the guy had, but I didn't realize until later after the tour was done that there was actually no like company name on the screenshot. So it like talked about the tour, but it didn't say how to book the tour. And I couldn't find it. I kept Googling and I couldn't find that one. And we wanted to do that one because they were like, "Oh yeah, this one was great." And originally our plan was just to take the buses because you can take like the local buses and they travel between the different cities on the Amalfi Coast, and that was our plan. Um, but then they were like, "Oh, you should definitely do the boat," and so that's what we wanted to do. But then I couldn't figure out what tour they did because I didn't have all the information, so we didn't book it. Okay, and so then we get to the Airbnb, and then okay, go.
The Airbnb, we were talking to him, and he was like, do you guys have a lot of plans? We're like, yeah, we're going to Pompeii one day, but really other than that, like we don't have any plans. But we were like, we really want to go on like a boat tour. We were thinking about going on the buses, and he was like, do not go on the buses. He's like, the buses are way too packed. There's too many people. Like you may not end up getting on a bus, and then you'll have to go and wait for the next bus to come around. And he's like, don't do the bus. He's like, I have this boat tour. These people that I recommend. Do you want to do this boat tour? And he opens up this boat tour, and it's the same exact boat tour from our friends from Florence that gave us the boat tour. And we were like, oh my God, it's meant to be. We're like, we got to go on this boat tour. So we ended up doing the boat tour. But again, the Airbnb host set it all up for us. Like we didn't have to call anybody. We didn't have to do anything. Like he literally did everything for us, which I know that Hyatt scheduled all of our stuff for, but hey, 7-star Airbnb host right there.
Category 7 Airbnb.
Yeah, category 7, sorry. But yeah, he was very nice, set everything up for us, and all we had to do was walk outside of our Airbnb, and they picked us up on a bus and took us to the boat tour.
Like literally, let me tell you how much we trusted this man, okay? This man that we just met 4 seconds prior. He said, "Go stand outside the restaurant, blah blah blah, at 7:20 a.m. and wait for the white van to pick you up." And we did, and it did. And we lived to tell the tale.
Yeah,
And we were like, never in America would we do this.
No shot. I would never, ever, ever trust somebody in America. Just, oh yeah, go outside and get in this white van. It ended up being like a legitimate white bus. Like it was a huge bus. Like it wasn't just a van. Like, but yeah, still definitely would never have done that in America.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and okay, so let's talk about the boat tour. So you get on the boat and, well, I guess, hold on. Should we back up? We could talk about the
Yeah,
boat tour, then we could do Pompeii. Um, so the
yeah.
we did three activities. Okay. We did a Pompeii guided tour, we did the boat tour to the Amalfi Coast, and then we spent a day at the beach club or at a beach club. So since we're on the subject of the boat tour, let's do that first. So we go to the boat, we get on the boat. How many people do you think were on that boat? Not that many. It wasn't very big.
No, it wasn't very big. I want to say probably like maybe 30.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah. And the guides, yeah, you get on the boat. And we sat like up front on the boat because when we got there was a lot of people that were already on the boat. So we kind of just sat up front. Not near a window. I recommend sitting more towards the back so you can see more stuff because we had like some poles and stuff in our vision. And we also were on the boat. We were facing the water instead of facing the coast when we were riding out there. So on the way back, we ended up switching so that we could see everything just better and sitting in the back. But it was like 30 people. The guides, there was a captain that let me drive a boat that drove the boat. And then there was two like workers that worked the boat, I guess is the way to say that. I don't know. They explained everything to us and like made sure that we knew what times and stuff. And their English was okay. Like I would say that their English was probably the worst out of our trip. At least our
Yeah.
one guy. Like he understood like the very bare minimum and could tell you, but couldn't really like speak back to, which I feel is how I would be in a Spanish speaking country. Like I couldn't understand the very bare minimum, but talking back to you in Spanish, I would be like, what the heck? So I think that that is kind of like how he was.
Yeah. And so okay, so on the tour you stop at I'm sorry, you stop at Positano, then Amalfi, and then once you're in Amalfi, the tour that we did, we had about 5 hours. And so we had the option, if we wanted to take the bus from Amalfi up to Ravello. And I'm so glad we chose to do that because Amalfi was so crowded and Ravello was beautiful. And yes, there were tourists, but it was nowhere near as crowded.
Yeah, it was so much better. And it was like you could walk and you could go to restaurants and like it was not overcrowded. But on the way there, like once we went to Positano and that place was nice. It was smaller. It was very, very, very beautiful. We stopped at like this little cafe to have breakfast because you only have like what do we have like an hour and a half in Positano?
Yeah, it wasn't a ton of time. Yeah.
Yeah, so we just went and got breakfast, which was a croissant and a cappuccino because that's literally what they eat for every breakfast, every week, every day. I was like, "Can I get some eggs and some pancakes?" Like I was like, "What?" The breakfast was just different, but it was a super cute little cafe with a beautiful view of like the side of one of the mountains. It was so pretty. And was the cappuccino good in the cafe, whatever they call it?
Yeah, it was good. Yeah. And is that where I had my first pistachio croissant?
Croissant. Um,
Like,
Also every time Rhea says the word croissant, she has to say it croissant. Like I'm over here like, yeah, that croissant was mid. She's like, croissant.
I said croissant. I do that to my kids too. They get so annoyed. But yes, it was great. It was
I don't know if you had I don't remember if you had a pistachio croissant there.
me neither, but if you go to Italy, you need to get a pistachio croissant. It literally has like this green pistachio cream inside the croissant, and it is legitimately the best croissant I've ever had. And hot take, okay, unpopular opinion, I'm gonna say it's better than a pain au chocolat, which is a chocolate croissant. Okay.
I don't know. I liked my chocolate croissants. Those were good. I also had the cream croissant and that was good too. That was fine. I also tried a donut. Like I didn't anticipate trying a donut, but I tried a donut and the donut was pretty good too. Like I know I've said this. I said this last week. I'll say it again this week. Like I did not have a bad meal. Not
I mean,
anywhere we
yeah,
went.
we really didn't. No, we really didn't.
All right, but back. We're on
Um,
the boat tour. Okay.
yeah, we're on a boat.
So we our like thing is to get magnets everywhere. So we made sure to get magnet in Florence. And then when we got to Sorrento, we got one and we made sure to get one in Positano. So we got a we had time to go like get breakfast. We got a magnet. We walked around in the little beach area, took some pictures. Um, but it was really nice. It was like it was morning time, so it was much more calm. A lot of things start to they eat dinner way later, so a lot of things in the morning start way later. Start later. Oh my gosh. So we it wasn't there very many people there when we were there, which was nice. So it was like pretty calm and beautiful.
Yeah.
The weather was beautiful.
Yeah, we had great weather the whole trip, or the whole Italy part of the trip. Um, if you visit Ravello, which again, I think it's worth it to take the extra time to take either the bus or you can take a taxi. We took a taxi up and the bus down. I mean, when I tell you I was fighting for my life standing in the aisle of that bus, driving down the side of the mountain, it's true. I was, but we made it and it only cost like 2 euros. Um, go to Villa Ruffalo. You have to pay like 7 or 8 euros to get in. I thought it was free. I could have sworn that Reddit and Google told me that it was free, but we had to pay. And so did everyone else. So maybe that information is outdated. But the views from Villa Ruffalo are just, I mean, stunning. Like, I think the Amalfi Coast is tied with Hawaii for the most beautiful, like, and stunning, like, landscapes I've ever seen.
I could agree with that statement. Hawaii was beautiful, but it's just different.
It's
Um,
different. Yeah.
but it is absolutely beautiful. Like, I mean, multiple times we were like, "Oh my God," like verbally saying that out loud. Like, not many things make me be like, "Oh dang, like that's so pretty." Um,
Yes,
and
it
then
was.
that was when I definitely recommend going up to Ravello too, because Amalfi's way too crowded. Like, you can't do anything there. Um, but when we came back down to Amalfi, we went and got obviously being in that southern Italy area, lemons literally everywhere. So we went and got gelato, which we had a lot of gelato, uh, which we probably should talk more about. Like, any gelato we had was delicious, but
It was good. Yeah.
we waited to try the lemons when we got into that area. And we stopped at this place in Amalfi and had a lemon gelato or lemon sorbet, and they put it in a legitimate lemon. But the lemons there are not your average size lemon. They're like one lemon times five. No exaggeration. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it
They're
was
very
so good.
big.
We were gonna share it, but we all ended up getting our own and we all ended up finishing it. It was so refreshing. It was so good. It was like definitely something you needed after being out in the sun all day, and it was nice. It was
Yep.
like a good way to kill time.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good. And yeah, I mean, we had a great day exploring the little towns of the Amalfi Coast, and then we hopped on the boat. We drove back. It's maybe an hour drive on the boat back to the starting point, and then they literally dropped us off back where they picked us up. And I mean, it was just so easy to do. And so yeah, I appreciated that. Let's talk about Pompeii really quick, and then we can do the beach club and the restaurants and wrap this up. Um, So I've been to Pompeii before, and the last time that I did it again was 12 years ago, and I did not do a guided tour. I kind of went by myself. I think I might have paid for like a self audio tour, but those can be really tricky because it's like sometimes it's hard to make sure like am I even in the right spot for what this audio is talking about, and it can be confusing. So we did a fully guided tour this time, and it was super interesting, and the coolest part, which I didn't even know, was I guess in 2020, when obviously the pandemic happened and everything was closed, there were no people visiting Pompeii. And so they were able to do some further excavations, and they found like a whole other portion of the city of Pompeii that hadn't been discovered yet. And parts of those rooms just opened to the public like a week or two before we were there, which I thought was really fascinating. What did you think about Pompeii being your first time there?
Yeah, it was cool. It's so much history. And I mean, I wasn't up on my history when I started there. I didn't know exactly what we were dealing with. Um, but I learned a ton. It was in the guided, oh my gosh, the guided tour that we went on, again, so knowledgeable. And he like helped us, explained everything to us. And I just thought it's crazy, like the things that were going on back then are like, I don't know exactly the right way to say that. Like, they still think the
Similar to
same,
things that go on
similar
today. Yeah.
yeah, like they still think the same way, they still want the same things. Like, it's just cool. And like, were telling us like if the stores had a really nice storefront, then it was probably the rich people that owned it, and the houses behind them and stuff. And it's just so interesting to see, like, also the paintings on the wall and stuff. I'm like, wow, like, and the paintings are still there. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? And then
Yeah. Yeah.
we went into one of the houses, and the tile work on this house was unbelievable. Like, I was like, how did they have time? Like, now I know how they had time, because they don't have TikTok and Instagram and a dang phone. But I was like, how did they know where to put? Like now you do like the color to paint where you put the blue and the number two and stuff like that. But like, how did they know how to put every single tile in the right place to portray such a picture? It was beautiful. Like it was so cool. And it's just like nowadays we're so focused on our phones and whatnot that we don't care to even think about those types of things. I was like, this is beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just so crazy to think like I am literally standing in the same exact spot where, like this shopkeeper stood like so many, years ago. Like obviously a lot of years ago, but yeah, it's just really crazy. Um our guide was fantastic too, and he also gave us some good like a good lunch recommendation, and he was just like really friendly. I mean everyone we met was so friendly. I really appreciate that about Italy. Okay, our
Yeah,
last
wait, at
day.
the end. Wait, hold on. Let me tell you what the guided tour told me at the end of the tour.
Oh, yeah.
For asking him questions, because he like kind of walked us back to the restaurant because he's like, I'm going there, so I could just walk you there. We're like, okay. Um, but he goes, oh yeah, by the way, the volcano, Vesuvius, is the most dangerous volcano around. And I'm like, oh, good. I'm glad you told me that after we finished this tour. Like, but
Yeah,
they said
great.
they get like warnings or something. Um, I guess somebody goes out and checks like
They
activity.
monitor the seismic activity, I think,
Yeah. And so they
underground.
like, yeah, so they can kind of tell when things might be starting to hit the fan. Um, but it hasn't erupted in a really long time. But I was like, what if it's today? Like, and we're here doing
Fortunately, it was not. Okay.
Yeah,
It
we're
was
good.
not today. We're fine. It's fine. Okay, let's talk about the beach club because this might have been my favorite day in Sorrento. Like this just felt like, I mean, vacations are a lot of like go, 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 especially when you go to Europe, but this was like a day to relax. So we went to the Marameo Beach Club, which is in Sorrento, and there are a couple different beach clubs, but this is the one where they don't allow kids. They have towel service, and you basically just pay a price. You rent your chair for the whole day. And
Yeah,
so
it
I
was
think it
funny.
was,
Go
it
ahead.
was what?
It was what, $25 a chair, $5 for the towel?
Yeah. Yep. So 30 euros for the day. And then they have food and drinks you can order if you want. And so we brought our books, we read, we ordered lunch, we had two bottles of wine between the three of us, and we literally sat in our comfy lounge chairs staring up at the cliff of Sorrento with like the blue green water. And I mean, it was so beautiful. It was a great day.
I agree. And we are like we both grew up well, I mean, I guess I grew up in Orlando, but you spent some time in Orlando. And so like Florida beaches are absolutely beautiful and I love the beach. But this was such a different beach experience. Like it's like not your typical sit on the sand type of beach experience, but it was so nice. It was so beautiful. It was so beautiful. Like the water was much colder than I anticipated, but once you got into it, like it was very, very, very refreshing. Um, and yeah, it was beautiful. It was like calm and relaxing. They played some music, we read. Um, but then when we got there, it was really funny. We like walked in and there's a sign directly in front of us that says Marameo Beach Club. And my sister looks at the guy and goes, is this Marameo Beach Club? And he goes, yeah, it's Marameo Beach Club. It was hilarious.
No, he said we are the only Marameo Beach Club in Sorrento or something like that. And I was like, okay.
It was funny.
Yeah. And so I think like it's getting into the high season now. So we were there very end of May. And so we did not have a reservation, but I do think that you should make one if you want to go there for the next couple months, especially in their busy summer months. Um yeah, I would go back and do that day all over again. It was a great time.
Yeah,
Okay,
I agree.
let's do restaurants really quick. So three restaurants that we ate at mainly. Um, let's go worst to best, okay? Frankie's Pizza. Uh, get the
But
pizza. Don't
yeah,
get the
get the
pasta.
pizza. Yeah, get the pizza, don't get the pasta. That's where I tried my other carbonara, and it was not nearly as good as my guy back in Florence. So yeah, get the pizza, but the pizza was good. Yeah, get the pizza.
Yeah. Second, I would rate the Bagni Delfino, which was like the fancy dinner, and we went here to celebrate your actual birthday, like not on the day of your birth, but the day after, I think.
Yeah.
And so we made a reservation. It's like it's on the water, so you have to go like from Sorrento is like up on the mountain or the cliff, and you have to go down.
Mhm.
And there is a lift, like an elevator, but it's not on the side where this restaurant was. So we walked down and took a taxi back up, mainly because of mom.
Yeah. But it was good. It was very beautiful. Like it was on the water. It just was the view was just literally stunning.
Yeah.
Um, and you could hear like the waves crashing into the rocks and stuff. The food was food was really good. We also had again another wine that we were like, wow, this is so good. So we also took it home with us, and it
Yep.
was really good. But the highlight of the trip, restaurant wise, was enjoy the little things bistro in Sorrento, like in the center, in basically pretty close to the center city. It was so good. We went twice. Like
Yep.
literally, we were like, we need to go back.
Yep. So this restaurant was not on my radar, but a few weeks before the trip, I was on a work trip in Orlando, and a colleague of mine said, "Oh, if you're going to Sorrento, you have to go to this restaurant." And so I literally took a picture of his of like the restaurant name on his phone on my phone. And so he was like, "You can't make a reservation. You just have to go stand in line." And I was like, "Okay." And when we were looking up restaurants on TripAdvisor, this restaurant kept popping up, and it was like one of the only ones that had 5 stars. All the other ones are like 4, 4.5. And so we went there, and we got in line, and I don't know, we didn't wait very long, maybe
No,
20
because
minutes,
that,
but we were early.
yeah, we did. We went early both nights, but that's where we actually celebrated my actual, but that's where on my day of my birthday, that's actually where we went
Oh
to dinner.
yeah, that's right. Because
Um,
we tried to go to the Delfino one, and they didn't have a reservation. That's right.
Yeah. So it was early enough. And if you get in the line early enough, you'll be fine. But I thought that was an interesting concept that like they don't take reservations. So you literally just wait in a line. And the line was long when we were done.
Yeah.
And they accommodated us, let us sit at like a table for two, but it was three of us. So I mean, it was smaller, but the food was phenomenal. And then when we went back, the worker remembered us.
I'm
And she
pretty sure
like,
that she's like one of the owners. I feel
I
like
think
it's
she's
her and
the
her
owner.
husband that own it. Yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah, she's definitely the owner. And she remembered our order to the T, remember what we ordered, everything. We got the limoncello again. Like
She
she
even
was,
remembered like that you guys didn't finish your food, or that
yeah,
me and mom didn't finish our food. Yeah. The first night.
yeah. She's like, are you gonna finish your food this time? And we didn't end up getting an appetizer that time, the second time. So we did end up finishing our food. She's like, oh, interesting. When you don't have an appetizer, you finish your meal, huh? And we're like,
I
we
mean, the
promise.
appetizer
No,
was
like keep
so
doing it.
good though. It was like the
Yeah, that
burrata. Oh, it was so good.
Oh yeah, we all became, I mean, I've always liked burrata, but my mom definitely started loving burrata this trip. We had it so many times.
She was like, "What is this? What is this? What's burrata?" And we were like, "What?
You've never had
What?"
burrata before?
Oh, sweet mother.
Yeah.
So
But
yes, enjoy the little things bistro. Definitely worth a visit. Like,
10 out of
I
10.
mean, 10 out of 10. It was so good. Okay. I feel like that wraps it up. Anything else to add about Sorrento or the Amalfi Coast or anything like that?
No. Oh, one thing about Italy in itself is there's public bathrooms that you have to pay. So like always have some euros on you so that you can pay, like it's like €1 to use public bathrooms. So if you're gonna like you can use bathrooms in restaurants, you don't have to pay, but if you're walking around and you need a restroom, make sure you have if you need a toilet, make sure you have like one couple euros on you so that you can pay for them.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah. That's a good tip. Yep. Okay, awesome. Well, as always, thank you all so much for listening. If you enjoy this podcast, we would love a review on iTunes or Spotify or wherever you listen. I will put links to everything that we talked about, the tours, the restaurants, all that fun stuff in the show notes. And if anyone has questions, you can find me on Instagram at Travel Party of Five. Otherwise, we will see you next week for the last part of our 3-part Europe series where we go to Paris. That's Paris. Okay. Are you going to say bye this time?
I'm going to say bye this time. Bye,
Okay.
guys. I'll see
Okay.
you guys next week.
Bye.
Sorry.
Bye.
Bye.